Hey, what's up guys, my name is Anshul and today in this video let us take a look at this Keychron K2 keyboard. And yes, this is 2025 and this is not the latest keyboard, in fact a mechanical keyboard that you can buy in the market right now. But I just wanted to make this video because I had got some thoughts about this keyboard after using this for about, I would say, 3.5 years or almost 4 years as of using this device. But in fact I think so that this is one of the longest pending reviews because I have been making a lot of videos since the past 2 years, and this is one device that had been lying around for a longer time in the studio. So yes, here is a video about this Keychron K2, and I would just tell you in this video that why this thing is a very much important video. So without wasting any time, let us just talk about a few things that I want to mention in this video, because you might be able to see this thing in a lot of sales online, maybe from Keychron or maybe on Amazon, maybe on Best Buy, or in fact you might be able to find this device on Facebook Marketplace and all the other marketplace platforms for about $50 or $60. But before making any kind of buying decision on this keyboard, this is a very important video for you, because I'm going to tell you the reasons that why I might upgrade to a new keyboard, and that might be a bare-bone one or that might be a fully assembled version, just like something like a Rainy 75. But that is again for a separate video. But I just want to tell you my reasons of retiring this keyboard, as you can see in this video. Now the number one thing that I'm really frustrated about after using this keyboard for about 3.5 years is just the fact that this thing is not a pro version, which means that it does not have any kind of QMK or a Y compatibility. But when I purchased this keyboard back in the time, it was about 175 Canadian dollars after it being shipped from China to here, which is again a lot of money. And in this day and time, you can maybe buy a fully functional aluminum case keyboard on Amazon for about $100. That is just a very cheap price in my opinion. But this thing, even for about 175 Canadian dollars, I would say 3.5 years back, that was just a lot of money to ask for this keyboard. And I'm just talking about the facts and the real things. But now when I first purchased this keyboard, I was not aware of the fact that this is not compatible via the Wire software. But the thing is that this is not even compatible with the Keychron launcher. That is one thing, that is one of the latest additions on the newer keyboards. But this thing, you might not be able to connect it to the browser to be able to use the software. In fact, if you have just got a physical launcher on the top of, or I would say a thick client installed on the Mac OS or the Windows OS or even the Linux OS, it just makes a lot of difference, because you can then use a lot of different combination of the keys to be able to use the AI prompts on the keyboard. In fact, you can do the very same thing via the Wire software as well, but you need to be able to log into the browser and open the application, connect the keyboard via a physical wire, a 2.4 gigahertz connector otherwise, to be able to use the functionality. That is again one thing that I just do not like about these keyboards. But that is one thing that is just my personal problem, but might really not be a thing for the other users. Now the other thing that I just do not like about this keyboard after using it for about 4 years is, or I would say again 3.5 years, is the fact that even though that this thing has got a 4000 mAh battery, it is just not performing the way after so much long time of using this keyboard. Again, this is due to the fact that I use this keyboard more on a wireless mode rather than using it with a cable. So yes, it does degrade the battery on this keyboard, which is one thing again that I'm not liking. So this is probably one reason. If you are picking a used keyboard on the marketplace, just make sure that the battery health on this thing is healthy, which again there is no other way. Now you can use some of the batteries or the other components that can be imported from China like AliExpress, but I just do not guarantee if it would not burn your house, because again, you know, these are not the genuine batteries. Or even if it was a battery replica of something like an Apple device, I would just pass it. But having one for the brand that is not selling millions of the units around the world, it is just not a good idea to source a battery from AliExpress. Now the other thing that is a big bummer for me on this keyboard over here is the lack of a 2.4 gigahertz connector. Again, a Bluetooth connection is not as stable and you might see a lot of drop on this keyboard. It is good for a functionality when you want to pair more than one device. The Wi-Fi 2.4 Hz of the connector is the one that is the universal standard that is being used by Logitech and all the other major brands, and this is what I wanted to see in this keyboard. I know that the later version of this keyboard may be not even the later version of this keyboard. I know that the V3 Max is one of the keyboards that is a plastic build, but that does come with a similar connector as well. In fact, it also comes with a Type-C connector, but not something that this thing over here it is having on this keyboard. Again, for about 175 Canadian dollars that I paid back in the time, it is just not worth the money. And even if you're buying this keyboard for about 50 to 60 Canadian dollars, you just need to keep this thing in mind. It is not a very stable connection, but if you just want to use it with wire, I think it is pretty much possible for the price that you might be able to get this keyboard for. And again, you can just do a lot of customizations to make this thing an even better one. And now the final quirk that I found with this keyboard was a lot of connection drops. And again, this is something that I just mentioned, but this is just a very regular thing on this keyboard, and in fact it just goes to sleep mode without any indication. And you might be just typing on your keyboard and you just slip away from your seat for about 20 seconds, and the moment you come back on your seat, it is just not connected and it is in a sleep mode. So one another thing that I just do not like about this keyboard. Now onto the things that I really find good about this keyboard is in fact the thing that for about 60 to 70 Canadian dollars, if you can buy this keyboard on a used marketplace, the quality of this keyboard is still one of the best ones. In fact, a lot of the newer keyboards might come with a better functionality, but it might not give you the weight of the device that you are able to get out of this thing. In fact, this is a really heavy keyboard, and when you are typing on desk, it does not slide away from its original position, which is a plus point. But also, I just love the feel of this keyboard, even that this does not have the latest foam technology that we have got in the market, the multiple, the 5 layer of the foam stacked on top of each other. This might be, I think so, 4 or 3 of them. I just do not remember the last time when I opened this thing, but I just love the feel of this keyboard. And again, it might be a bit more noisy for the people who are sitting around you. Sometimes when I'm typing on this keyboard, my wife does know that I'm typing a script, and even after the fact that the function keys on the top of this keyboard is not very much distant from the other keys, I just do not slip away my fingers on the top function keys, which is one thing that I just really like about this keyboard. This is one of the most comfortable keyboards that I have typed in the longest time. It has got a certain tilt on the back of this keyboard. If we just go to the back, you would see that there are these risers. Again, a very common functionality, but that does make a bit of difference. And even if you would just notice closely, there is a slant on the back of this keyboard that does make it a very comfortable position to use this keyboard. That is again a very common thing that a lot of people, they just do not realize that while typing they may hurt their fingers and may getting up into medical conditions, which is one thing that I just do not want my keys to experience. So yes, this is pretty much a great thing even for the price that is about 60 to 70 Canadian dollars if you're able to find this thing in a used marketplace. Now the next thing that I just want to talk about this keyboard is again the build quality. This is not rated for any kind of IP64 or 65 or 68 rating, but I spilled water on top of this keyboard a couple of times, and even though that this is a battery powered thing, it never short the circuit on this keyboard, which is one thing that I'm grateful of. And in fact, I just opened this keyboard about 2 to 3 times after the water went inside of this keyboard, and I just do not see any kind of corrosion on the motherboard, which is one thing that I could tell you only after using this device for this long time. Now I just want to keep this keyboard. In fact, I just want to modify this keyboard with something that is a better switch than this brown switches that I have on this keyboard. This thing can be a better sounding keyboard, and in fact I can just paint the entire body to be matching to be something like an orange color, or maybe the McLaren orange or something else. But this is one project that I would be pending for a later video. I just need to get more subscribers and more likes on this video just so that I can afford to make these kind of videos. So yes, do like and subscribe to this video, because it might be just free for you, but it might be just one help to make sure that I'm just making this video in the longest run. Now the last thing that I want to talk about in this video is the fact that this is a 75% keyboard, and before using this kind of layout I was not too sure about that is this the thing that I would just want in my life, because I always thought that I am a person that who would just like to have a full-size keyboard. And in fact, this is just a surprise to me that after using this thing, I can now just not go back to a regular size keyboard, which is a surprise. But this is a fact, and I just love the way that how this 75% keyboard, it is able to make a big difference in my life. I'm able to type faster, I'm able to write a lot of scripts. In fact, this is most of the times is connected to my iPad Pro, the M1 edition, and at the same time I also use this with my primary laptop as well. And I just type a lot of these video scripts on notion.com, and I just use this keyboard as a primary one for just the typing purposes, because it just makes everything so much more easy in my life. And well, now with that said, that was all that what I wanted to share about in this video. I think so that for the price that you might be able to find this keyboard on a Facebook marketplace or even a new condition, this might be a passable one even after so many years of the release date. But you just need to keep this thing in mind that this is not a programmable keyboard, and if you want one that is programmable, you just need to get something like a V1 edition of this thing, or maybe in fact you can get something like the K2 Pro edition, and you would still be able to get an aluminum build along with the design on this thing. It just does not age and is one of the best designs that I have seen in any other keyboard that I have seen in the market. Well, that was all that what I wanted to share in this video. My name is Anshul. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.